This is literally the 4th time I'm trying to get this video done on 4 different cameras. If it doesn't work this time, I don't know what I'm going to do. I know it's getting a little bit close to Halloween, but I wanted to get this video out because it's what perfect timing to talk about something like this than around the holiday. And first and foremost, I want to make this very clear for this video that I want this video to bring you encouragement. I want it to be uplifting. I want it to bring you joy. I don't want it to be one of those videos about this holiday that makes you leave feeling judged, feeling condemned, feeling more confused. This is my perspective. This is my understanding. This is what the Lord has led me through, and whether you're Christian or not Christian, maybe there's something that you can take away from this that you can use to teach your family more about this holiday, or that you can take before the Lord and ask Him in prayer. I mean, if you've clicked on this video, you've probably already been questioning this, or maybe having the thoughts about stopping celebrating Halloween, or wanting to know more about it. I don't know your reason for clicking on this video, but I pray that it gives you something. You walk away with something from this, because I know there are so many videos on this topic already. And I'm assuming just because the holiday is around the corner that a lot more people are asking these questions. And asking questions like, should I be celebrating Halloween if I'm a Christian? What is Halloween all about? What is the history of Halloween? Is it okay to celebrate Halloween? And, you know, and maybe you have the thoughts Halloween is such a fun, exciting time for me and the kids. It's so ingrained in my family. It's something that we've always really looked forward to and really enjoyed. And it's something that brings joy to my family. So it's an innocent holiday for me. Why are there people that wouldn't want to celebrate it? You know, so you guys could have a ton of different reasons why you're watching this video and looking into it. If there's something you want to know, if there's something you want to know, or something you find in this video that I don't address, please comment below and ask any questions you might have. So I want to give you more insight on Halloween and my personal story, why my family does not celebrate Halloween, how we got to that point, and why I believe it's something that everybody needs to look into and make the decision about celebrating or not. And I know there's so many different people that celebrate in different ways, right? There are people that are just totally into Halloween. It's everything they live for. It's something they casually do, you know, for fun with the kids, maybe not that big of a deal. Or it's something, you know, some people are totally, you know, staying away from. They don't want anything to do with it. So I'm going to give you a bit of a backstory of why I stopped celebrating Halloween and why my family doesn't do it. And I want to tell you right now that ever since not celebrating Halloween, it has brought so much joy and so much more fulfillment. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people worry about, is when they stop doing certain things that they really enjoy. And I still have issues with, there's still a lot of things in my life that I believe that I need to pray about or work through or whatever, but I find hard to let go of. I'm sure there are things I don't even realize. But if we're taking this to the Lord, something that the Lord wants us to let go of, we don't realize how much fulfillment and joy comes out of that, because there's something so much better to either take its place, or we don't realize that this thing that looks like a blessing, enjoyment, really is not. And once we remove it from our lives, it actually takes a burden away we didn't even know was there. So my history and my knowledge of Halloween is probably a lot different from most people. If you've seen any of my other videos, or you know any of my testimony, I have a history in the occult. So when I became Christian, it was a lot easier for me to stop celebrating Halloween, because I already knew what Halloween was all about. I already knew everything that happens around Halloween around this time. And I already knew how dark it was. So for a lot of people, if you're not a Christian watching this, or if you know, Halloween's just a fun celebration for you guys and you don't know what I'm talking about, this might be some crazy new stuff to you. And I'm not going to go too deep into this, but I encourage you to do more research. So I'm just giving you the tip of the iceberg. Before I became Christian, if you haven't heard my testimony, I was in the occult. I was in a bunch of other religions too, and I was just searching for the truth, because I always knew there was something higher than just this physical realm, that there was a spirit, there was more. And so I was always searching, but I became stuck in the occult, and Halloween was my favorite holiday. It was like my thing. And I enjoyed the darkness of it. I enjoyed the deep spiritual side of it that, you know, you didn't get from any of the other holidays. And I celebrated it religiously. Like it was my thing. So I knew from being in the occult, from being into witchcraft and all of that, that there was this heavy dark side of Halloween. So if you don't know this, please do your own research and look more into this. Again, everything you listen to, when you listen to my stuff, when you listen to anybody else, take it with a grain of salt, take it before the Lord and pray about it, and do your own research. Look more into it. Eat the meat, spit out the bones if that's the case. Whatever you need to do, just assess and test everything. And so going back to me, so coming out of the occult, I knew that Halloween already had a very dark side to it. So if you don't know, around this time, there is a lot of wickedness going on in the world. A lot of wickedness and stuff that your mind could not even fathom. So knowing that, and coming out of that, and now wanting to serve God and knowing how good He is, and His light, like just wanting to be in the light and away from darkness, in good conscience, like even if you're not Christian, but you know this stuff goes on, everyone has a conscience, unless that thing is like totally seared, man. Like in good conscience, knowing what goes on in Halloween, there is no way that I could be involved in it in any way, knowing what happens. It's kind of like, I'll give you an example. It's like, imagine your child gets hurt and your child is in the hospital, and instead of choosing to be beside your child's side, you choose to sit at home and watch TV because it's more entertaining, or to watch a ball game, or to go to a club, or to hang out with friends or whatever. It's taking the importance, it's choosing to be ignorant of what really happens. This is the hard part. It's like, once you know the truth, you're now accountable to do something about it. And I know how hard this is, and I know this sounds so heavy and so deep, and it is, but this is meant to give clarification and bring freedom. This is meant to bring freedom. So the heart of this is joy. The heart of this is joy and freedom and strength, and when there's conviction there's no condemnation. There's conviction here for you guys if you're feeling it. And so knowing what happens at this time, please do your research. Please look into this. In good conscience, there's no way personally for me that I could spend my time involved in this. This is just point one, involved in it in any way, shape, or form. So I spend this time in fasting and in praying for all the darkness that goes on right now, for all the pain, all the suffering, for everything that's happening right now. I spend it in prayer and in fasting. Is it even if I make the decision to, but I'm only focusing on, the fun parts, the good parts, not the wicked parts. I don't want to think about it. And this is a lot of humanity's mentality. So I totally get it. And I totally get it, because there are a lot of things, especially for me, I'm very sensitive already. So it's not necessarily a willful ignorance for me, but it's like, if I focus a lot, or even if I'm praying about something that's dark and hard to pray for, like it could be murder, could be abortion, could be something I'm very passionate about, I find it really hard The Lord has to bring me through it. And it gets to the point where I almost don't want to think about it at all. Sometimes I don't even want to pray about it because I don't want to think about it because it makes me feel physically sick. It makes me feel so sad and so heavy. So the Lord has to bring me through prayer. So there's that, but then you got to be careful of not being willfully ignorant. So that's where you know something wicked is going on, but you decide not to focus on it at all, not to acknowledge that it's going on, and just stay in the happy, stay in the happy, stay in the joy, the excitement, specifically of Halloween, the trick-or-treating, the costumes, the whatever, and focus only on that. And I get it. I get the desire to do that. I get the mentality that it's a good thing to do that because you're not focusing on darkness. But there's a fine line where we need to be aware of darkness and very prayerful against darkness, because God wants you to be strong. He wants you to be a warrior. He wants to use you. So let him use you to fight against these things. You don't have to let the darkness become an oppression, but it's oppressing you. It's oppressing you, whether you like it or not. If you're staying in willful ignorance, you're already oppressed. You're already oppressed by it, and you don't even realize it. And that's the trickiest part about things like this, like especially Halloween. And that leads me to my second point too. My next point is, okay, so if you want to stay and focus on the happy parts of Halloween, that everything is just, it's lighthearted, even the parts that are like freaky about it, kids find enjoyment in that and being scared and stuff. And again, I get that. Like I still consider myself a baby Christian who has decided to put aside Halloween. It's only been like 11 years since I've been saved, but before then I watched every horror movie. I, like I said, took part like crazy in Halloween. Like, I get it. But once that light bulb switches off in your head, once the Holy Spirit, once God's Spirit fills you, your mentality is totally switched and you see things completely differently. You see how manipulative and sneaky this spirit that looks joyful, that's a word, right? The spirit that looks joyful, this darkness that looks like you can enjoy it, is really, it's putting you in bondage. It's something that's putting you in bondage. And that is why the Lord is so clear to stay away from witchcraft, to stay away from the demonic, to stay away from Satanism, to stay away from the world and not have any part in it. It is a warning from him to keep you safe. And when you're in the world and you're in this stuff, you don't recognize it. You don't realize how much influence it's actually having on your life. And so I got a little bit off track. And so celebrating, like even the little things in Halloween, like it's just picking up candy. It's just dressing up in costumes. If you don't know this already, every single part of Halloween has a history. There's a reason why your kids go get candy. There's a reason why your kids dress up. For all these traditions in Halloween, there's a story behind it. And there's a reason why we do these things. And so please look into the history of this. It's all about, it's all about celebrating the dead. It's all about Satanism. It's all about witchcraft. It's all about that stuff. And then, people also have the thought then, okay, but I'm not doing those things. I'm not celebrating those things. Like I'm just going to get candy and stuff. Like, how in the world is that me like serving Satan or whatever? And I totally get this mentality too. And this is where we need to take, okay, no, you know what? There's two perspectives of this. It's easier if you have the spiritual perspective, where you understand that everything is spiritual and has a spiritual connection. And things are either of God or they're of the devil. It's always either or. There's no neutral ground. Things are either good and amazing and of God, or things are not. And so when we do celebrations that are passed down through generation to generation, that originated in paganism, that spirit, those spirits, the demonic spirits, the darkness is still attached to that. And I know it's hard for a lot of people to understand this. It's still attached to it, and it still carries on to the generations that continue to celebrate it. And I know that sounds hyper spiritual to a lot of people, and that's why I'm saying that part of understanding that you need to have a spiritual awakening to understand that. And that comes through prayer, and that comes through experience. And again, I probably wouldn't, like, I would believe this just because of what the Bible says and what God says and leads me, but I don't think I'd have as much understanding as I do if I didn't come from the occult. I don't think that I would. But the other side of it too is, even if you don't have that spiritual discernment or understanding about it, is look at everything that Halloween represents. Even just you can just see it, right? Is sometimes it's like, kids dress up as fun stuff like robots or whatever and get candy. Cool, that's cool. But look at how much darkness is blatantly like before your eyes if you're not cool with this dark stuff. I mean, like all right, like the stuff people set up on their yards or whatever, the gruesomeness of it, the gore of it, the fear. Halloween is all about fear and trying to make you and your kids enjoy it and become a part of it. I don't know why anybody would want to do that. I mean, like, but I get it because I was so a part of that. But now with this new discernment, this new understanding, I like, man. But think about it. People put on their lawns. Like, I just remember years ago walking down my street in the city and looking at someone's house with this horrific scene on their lawn or whatever. And I'm like, if this was any other day out of the year other than Halloween, they would have police coming to their door. How is it that we're getting away with this stuff because it's labeled a holiday? How? Because we've made this okay and it's become so ingrained in us, and we involve fun things with our kids that we can justify it. It's cray-cray! And the stuff that goes on during Halloween, guys, please, I'm not I'm giving you guys the tip of the iceberg. I'm not going into detail about this, but this holiday is obviously not a Christian holiday. It's not a people's holiday. It's not for you guys. It's a satanic holiday. That is, if that sounds crazy, if you've never heard that before, please just do a quick Google. Google will even tell you the truth on this if you don't use DuckDuckGo. I'm telling you, it's a satanic holiday. It's a satanic holiday. So, okay. Oh, here's another one. What about those Christians that turn it around for good? And I did this actually too when I continued to kind of celebrate it. My kids weren't going out, my kids weren't doing anything. But I would buy candy and I would put like little verses on it or something, and give it out to kids or whatever. I would somehow involve Christ in it. And I know there's a lot of people, a lot of churches that still do this. And this is something you have to take to the Lord, but be so careful about, because you have churches that want the kids to be happy, and so they turn it around and make it, what do they call it, a harvest celebration or something like that. And it's pretty much identical to Halloween. There's just, no obvious stuff, the fear and the gore and that stuff, and kids can dress up as like Bible characters or whatever. And still I think the core issue of this is what's going on Halloween, how important it is to come around this time in prayer. If anything is distracting you from praying about something as important as this, against something as important as this, it's not worth celebrating. Especially if you have, or even if you have, a Christian twist on it. And now there are other places that maybe that tone it down even more though, and instead they maybe do what I did, and they just hand out candy or whatever with verses on it. Again, take it before the Lord. Ask him to lead you. And if you've done something like that, but you're starting to feel convicted of that now, follow that leading. Do whatever the Lord leads you to, and his grace covers everything. And he will use what you've done. If you've given out candy with verses on it, God bless you. He will use that. That's incredible, you know? And God's grace is sufficient for covering everything. Everybody here listening to this video, you're on a journey. And that journey is messy, and it's not perfect. But God's grace is sufficient. He's so good. Okay, and so here's the most joyful part about all of this. If you take anything away from this, like I said, if God leads you to come out of this, like anything in life, if there's something even you don't understand that God's calling you out of, but it doesn't make sense why, but you're obedient to it, he will bless you with so much more. And he's telling you that that thing he's pulling you out of was a burden in the first place, and you don't even realize it. And it's the same with anyone dealing with anything that's of darkness in the world. Like when I came out of sexual perversion, it felt like a burden at first. It felt like, what do you mean I have to give this up? It's like giving up sin, giving up worldly sin. Like, I can't. What are you talking about? This feels good to me. This is a good thing to me. Why would I give this up? But the reason God is asking you to is because he's a good God. He knows what's best for you. He created you. He created your mind, your thoughts, your physical body. He created everything. So whatever he's asking you to do is going to be for your good, because he's a loving, perfect, amazing Father. Amazing. So as hard as it is to give something up, there's so much blessing coming in return. So to go farther for us, we've actually stopped celebrating every holiday. Like everything that our culture celebrates, like Easter, Christmas, Halloween, Thanksgiving, like all that. Like we've stopped. And for us, well, Halloween was the easiest, because it's more blatantly obvious, like the dark side of it. Christmas was the hardest. But for us, that was something the Lord led us to. And researching about the history of these holidays, why we celebrate these holidays, the paganism that's a part of these holidays. And once we started, I'm telling you, it was not easy. It was not easy. Even though we were so willing to be obedient, and we were obedient in the end, it was not easy, especially the backlash you get from it is so hard. You guys know, if you're a Christian, when you become a Christian, the backlash you get for everything is very difficult. But the Lord is looking for obedient hearts, because you want to trust him. It's like a kid with their father. Like your parent looking for your child to be trusting and trust you, because you do know what's best, and you do love them, and you do have what's best for them. So we cut out all holidays, and the Lord has brought so much blessing, so much fulfillment. We feel so free, and we celebrate festivals and holidays now that are so much cooler than what our culture has with Easter, Christmas, Halloween, whatever. Our holidays are so much longer and there's so much more to them, and they actually have so much more significance and meaning behind them. That's for another video. If you guys want me to make a video on that, I'm sure I will at some point, but I know I haven't been making a lot of videos lately. I've just been so busy. The last video I made, I think, was my puppy video. So if you saw that, you know why I'm so busy. But yeah. Lord, is that all that you want me to talk about with this? Oh, Lord. The Lord just wants me to say, if this is something that you've been seeking and, you know, you've been praying about and asking him, don't be afraid to take the leap. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid just to do it. Don't be afraid for your kids either, for your kids to miss stuff like this. I mean, the more parents and more families I talk to about this, you realize that how much more enjoyment the kids actually get out of life when you cut these things out. There's a shift that happens. There's a shift that happens in the spiritual that trickles, that gushes into the natural. for you and for your children. And it transforms your life. Have no place with darkness. I'm telling you. Stay in the light. Stay in God's light. However he leads you, if you don't understand, just go for it. Do my kids miss these holidays? They don't. But it's because the Lord has replaced it with so much else, so much other goodness. And it's because my family knows that whatever God has and whatever he warns us about, it's for our good. And we've learned over the years to trust him with that. And he never fails. He never fails. So if this is the first real big thing that you've been questioning, and that's why you clicked on this video, take a leap of faith and watch how he comes through. Try him. Try the Lord out, you know. And don't test the Lord, but try him out, because he's a good God and he will lead you accordingly. Yeah, so I pray that this video wasn't a burden. I pray that it felt like a blessing, and then it felt like a burden was lifted. Seek wisdom, seek the Lord, seek understanding, do more research. If there's stuff you don't understand, comment below if there's any other questions that you have. And that's it. Okay, God bless you guys. God bless you guys during this season, and I'll see you soon in the next video.